Hello and welcome to the Wellness Universe Lounge. Today we have a very special series kicking off. This is our Wellness Universe Expert Panel series, and today we're going to be talking about releasing toxic beliefs and patterns. Our co-host is Sherry Elise. Sherry, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Sherry Elise, and as Anna said, I am the co-founder of the Wellness Universe. Super thrilled that you're here with us today and that you are stepping forward and stepping forth and claiming the life that you know that you are here to live. So just wanted to officially welcome you.
Thank you very much. And so without real ado, we want to jump right into this session because we have four amazing Wellness Universe Woo World Changers, we call them, and our experts on today's panel that are going to be sharing their personal stories and their wisdom and also tips on how to get past your toxic patterns and beliefs. So Sherry, do you want to go ahead and introduce our wonderful experts?
Oh my God, I would love to.
I know.
Very excited to introduce each one of these experts to you. We're super proud to have them as a Wellness Universe World Changer and to share them with you. First, if you just hold your hand up, I'd like to introduce Dr. Swan Montague. Dr. Swan is a psychic and a highly attuned cosmologist, mentor, and healer. She is known as the go-to person for physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, and energetic problems when all else has failed. With a PhD in metaphysics, she creates potent change and lasting results. She clears, heals, and realigns, saving and transforming lives, and is one of the world's leading experts on karma. Welcome, Swan.
Welcome,
Thank
Swan.
you.
And
It's
next,
a
I'd like
privilege
to.
and I'm honored to be here.
Thank you, Swan. We're honored to have you here and can't wait to get to know you a little bit more throughout this panel. Next, I'd like you to raise your hand, although it's probably obvious just by the name alone, but Dr. Patrick Williams. Dr. Pat is an adventurer. He's a life and leadership coach, an author, and a speaker. He's also known, which I love, as the Indiana Jones of the interior. Pat is an executive coach, philanthropist, and educator. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Honored
Hi,
to have
Dr.
you.
Pat.
Hello.
Next we have, please raise your hand, the fabulous Dr. Debbie Silver. Debbie is the president of the Silver Center for Personal Growth and Healing. She is also of the PBT, which is Post-Betrayal Transformational Institute, and founder of pbtinstitute.com. She is a transformational psychologist, a recognized health, mindset, and personal development expert, speaker, coach, and author of the Amazon #1 best-selling book, The Unshakable Woman: 4 Steps to Rebuilding Your Body, Mind, and Life After a Life Crisis, and The Unshakable Woman, the workbook. She's also a mother of lots of kids and lots of dogs. Please welcome Dr. Debbie Silver. Hi, Debbie.
Oh, thank you so much. So excited for this experience.
Welcome,
you.
Debbie. So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And then last but not least, we have the fabulous as well, Ilene Dillon. Ilene is a mentor and coach, an author of more than 20 books, workbooks, and CDs. She is a radio host, a professional international speaker, a marriage and family therapist, a workshop leader, and expert in mastering emotions, especially anger and fear, and parenting consciously and ending codependence. Please welcome Ilene. Hi, Ilene.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Hi, Eileen. So happy to have you here as well. Thank you. Great introduction, Sherry. I just want to get the audience involved right from jump. So everyone who is in attendance with us, are you familiar with the terminology toxic thoughts or toxic beliefs? Just type yes in the chat box if you are familiar. Okay, great. So we're all, no. Okay, Courtney says no. So we're going to have that explained to you in a minute. Excuse me. Okay, and of you who do understand, obviously this topic did attract you for a reason. Do you already know something that is creating a pattern in your life that creates a negative or adverse repercussions or outcomes for you? Are you aware of that in your life right now? You can answer yes or no in the chat box. Yes. Okay, great. Yes. Yes. Okay, perfect. We just want to make sure that we meet you guys where you guys are at as far as understanding what this topic is so we can help you the most. Our experts are here to help you. So thank you so much for that participation. And let me check and see if everybody is muted here because I'm getting a little feedback. Let's just jump right in. Sherry, do you want to ask question number 1? And I'll see where this feedback is coming, maybe from me.
Sure. So as Anna said, we want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and we meet you where you're at. And besides which, what your ideas and beliefs about toxic beliefs and patterns might be different or explained differently by one of our experts. So I would like to go down the line and ask each one of you, what is your personal definition of what a toxic belief is? And also the second part of that is, where do you believe that they actually come from? Where do they originate from? Start with you, Ilene.
Well, a toxic belief to me, and I've had to get used to this definition too, because I work with beliefs and I think all kinds of beliefs can become toxic. Is something that you believe, that you accept as truth, that is not true for you. And it doesn't further you. In fact, it can hurt you. And where does it come from? Well, I believe that all of us are in a giant school here on the earth, and we are given an opportunity to come and there's an old saying that says creation exists so that love can become aware of itself. And we are parts of that love. And we, in the conduct of our lives, then we develop and show love what we learn about love. And beliefs have to do with that. And so we come to the planet with beliefs from ancestors. We download them as children from our own parents' brains. We develop them as a result of traumatic events or regular events. So they come from everywhere, and their purpose is to help us learn and grow.
Thank you, Ilene. I have a little lag here, so it looks like you're still speaking, so I wasn't sure if you're not done. Thank you for that. We will dive into that a little bit later. And then just before I go on to the next person, we definitely want to say that if you have questions along the way, please feel free to ask them in the chat. If there's somebody specific that you want to ask, we will go ahead and pose that question to them as well. So just a quick note. Would love to ask you the same question, Swan.
Well, from where I look at it, anything basically that is not pure, unfiltered, divinely inspired love and our natural true essence or state of being is basically toxic thought or belief, because it is sabotaging us from our true potential and preventing us from being able to fulfill our divine purpose as remembering we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And they derive from childhood hurts and traumas and wounds, family dramas, as Ilene said in different words, cultural conditioning, past lives, and karma. And they're carried in our DNA, in our spiritual DNA, which is way more than the 2 strands of DNA that science recognizes. And they lurk there in our subconscious or unconscious, in our cells and our souls, until we recognize them, unearth them, bring them into the light from the shadows, and heal and transform them. And the more we do that, the more we return to remembering our true divine essence and embodying that light and love that is our pure, unpolluted state. So everything that is not our pure, unpolluted state is toxic.
Beautiful. Thank you, Swan, for sharing that. And Dr. Debbie, would love to know your personal definition of what a toxic belief and pattern is, and where do you believe they come from?
Sure. What they said. No.
Right.
Yeah. So here's what I think. A toxic belief is really anything that keeps you sick, stuck, and small. It's a belief system is, and you may want to write this down, everybody. That's my way of saying write this down. A belief system is really no more than the repetition of an idea from someone you trust, period. So all that means is someone you trusted, a parent, a teacher, someone in a religious capacity, whatever, said something to you enough times and it became your belief system. That doesn't mean it's good or bad. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It means it's yours. Doesn't make it true. It just makes it yours. And I think one of the biggest reasons why we get into trouble is we take those beliefs as if they're facts, and they're not. A fact cannot be dismantled. Gravity, throw something up, it's coming down, right? But a belief can be dismantled. So that's really where the work is, to see if this belief is not supporting me, let me see if I can dismantle it. And that's the beauty of what we're all here to talk about today.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. And then last but not least, the gentleman in the group, Dr. Pat, would love to know your definition as well.
Yeah, hi. Well, I love the definitions that went before, because if, in a practical way, everything they said, yes. And if you take the word toxic, which usually means poison, we do things that we believe with our beliefs that poison our system. You know, sometimes it's too much of a bad thing, but sometimes, as we know, too much of a good thing can become toxic. You can have a belief that's based on the fact that you might be a overly caring person or overly rescuing person, and that can get you into trouble too. So you believe that's where you get your self-worth, whatever. So I think it's a strong and overpowering belief that does come from experience at some point in your life. You know, it's usually in our younger years. I mean, stuff happens. You can put in the four-letter word, but life happens, and we all adapt to it. And things can happen that make us just like, that's not really what they meant, but that's what I took it. That's my perception. Opinions are not facts. Beliefs are not facts. And we forget that, especially in today's toxic political world in our United States. Opinions are not facts, and we've come to believe that they're supposed to be. So it's an exaggeration. It's something that can be cleaned up. It's something that can be let go of, and that's what we're going to talk about in the rest of today's discussion.
I loved how you all wrapped that up in a very, a little bit of a different way each, and especially bring to the forefront that a belief is not necessarily a fact. And this is where I think the awareness starts, where we can accept that we have the power to change our life from this. So thanks so much, guys. Sherry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say that I think even before that we dive into how do you release that pattern, because that's what we're really, those beliefs is, I think for some people, they may not even recognize that they even have these. They just may think that, you know, they have a bad life or an unlucky life, or, you know, only these things happen, and they may not even be aware that it's stemming from something that they believe in themselves, perhaps a way that they limit themselves. They don't make choices in their lives based on these beliefs and aren't even aware. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that if you are someone that's here, that's listening, and you may not even know, maybe we can share, everybody can share how you can even recognize that.
Yep, good point.
Thanks, Ilene. I didn't mean to jump ahead. It was just something you had said, that Dr. Patrick had said, just like, you know, really that awareness. Ilene, if you wouldn't mind sharing how someone can recognize if they have a toxic belief or pattern.
Well, you know, I'd like to go back to more of the basics, Sherry, which is that we all run our lives on the basis of what we believe. So rather than saying, am I having a toxic belief, what we need to know is that we are running our lives on the basis of a belief. The belief contributes to our experience. The experience gives us what we focus on. What we focus on, we build. And so what I've learned to do as a psychotherapist working with myself and other people is to just ask the question. When I have an experience, when I'm having a bad experience, when I'm having a good experience, the question is, what could I possibly believe in order to have this experience? And whether it's toxic or not toxic, the issue about beliefs is we run our lives on the basis of beliefs that are not facts, as all of you have pointed out. And so we're essentially, part of us, living a lie. And once we identify the belief, whether it's creating toxicity or not, we face it and it lifts from us and we're free to create new beliefs.
You know, I'll add to that too. Your life is a complete representation of the beliefs you hold. So take a look around, because if you believe you'll never get out of debt, or you'll never be in a great relationship, or you'll never have that level of health, your mind will do everything to prove you right. And you will find confirming evidence to support that belief over and over and over again. So taking a look and seeing where you are now shows you what beliefs you've had up until now.
Yeah, I'll add to that.
Yeah.
That's a big point about patterns, Debbie, that you talked about. And Salon mentioned even the cellular level, that the research now backs up what Eastern thought has sold 6,000 years. Now we know that we actually create things in the brain that affect our thoughts and our patterns, and they can be changed, but it takes time. The cellular imploding and the cellular embedding of some of our beliefs affects the way that we even affect our body mind. So that's a big thing to understand.
Well, in fact, we create our reality, and the physical reality, or the cellular level, is merely a manifestation of what's going on spiritually, mentally, or emotionally. So when we ask ourselves, what is this, our story, and we get honest with ourselves about what story we're running, then the beliefs start to reveal themselves, and we can really take a deep look at the beliefs and patterns that are perpetuating the story, that are then creating our everyday reality. I'm sorry if I interrupted. There seems to be a big lag.
Don't even worry. I'm taking long pauses too, because I don't know either. We apologize for any of the technical challenges that we're having right now with multiple people on here. Curious if there's any questions so far, of anything for anyone has stuck out that somebody has perhaps mentioned or said. And while we're getting the answers on that, why don't we start and still go back to the basics of what are, if anybody wants to answer this, anybody can take it. What are examples of these toxic thoughts and beliefs and patterns for those who may not be able to recognize it, although I think most can, but any examples or something maybe that's not so obvious?
I can jump in with this. This is a really simple to do, not easy activity where you could see exactly what you believe. You ready? I'm so ... I can't ... I'll never ... And without judging, without critiquing, just write and see what shows up. And you may even hear someone's voice. It's probably your mother, but you may hear someone's voice, and you'll actually know the beliefs you hold.
And if I could follow up on that, another thing to do after that is something that comes from a lot of different schools, but it's like to understand, I have a body, but I'm not my body. I have emotions, I am not my emotions. Because we often say, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm angry. No, you're not. You're experiencing anger. You're experiencing sadness. It's not you.
Yes.
I totally agree with that one. And I'd like to just throw in, we're talking about toxic beliefs, but when I was thinking about this, I realized I had a belief that turned toxic that you could see as a very positive thing. And I'd like to tell you what it was. I had a belief that my body was very strong and healthy and nothing would ever go awry with it. I could depend on it. And then my husband got ill for 5 years and I didn't pay enough attention to my body and I developed a cancerous tumor, right? So the positive belief that my body was strong, and truly my body is strong, but it also hid another belief, which was that I didn't have to help my body with whatever it was that it was going through. And I did. And so I just like to point out, and by the way, the cancer has been removed and I didn't have any problems with it and so forth. I took it as myself, bringing myself a lesson so that I could refocus. And it has turned out to be like that. So I point out that you can have something that looks positive when you think of it as a belief, but may not operate positively for you, may be toxic.
Yeah, I love what everyone said, and my little contribution, my exercise, and what I notice is we get many triggers throughout the day, especially if we have children and family around us. And my way of dealing with it is to pause, to breathe, to close my eyes and ask myself, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it in my body? Breathe and feel, where is this in my body? And what is that bringing up for me? Because that really brings us back to ourselves and the owning of our emotion out of this story and in contact with the soul cellular level of the body, where the emotion that results from the belief or pattern is really held and enables us to release it, and at least not to project it onto those around us.
Nice.
Anyone have anything to add to that?
Well, this is Pat. The concept that Swan just mentioned of not project that on another thing, that's a human foible that we all do. We, whether you know it or not, we tend to bring people into our life to teach us lessons, and sometimes we're projecting. Like Carl Jung used to say, what you don't like in someone else is what you don't like in yourself. So there's a reason that there are lessons for you to learn if you pay attention.
But just to add to that, Dr. Pat, the good thing is if I fix that inside of myself, then the other person stops vexing me also.
Exactly.
Yes.
Don't use the mirror anymore. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Let me ask you guys, and anyone can answer this, and then we'll go around. In your experience, what has been the most common toxic beliefs that most people your clients have come to you with, or you have seen throughout your life? What are some of the more common ones that plague people? Because I'm sure there's like a top, 5 or 10 for sure, but I would love to hear. So whoever wants to answer that first is welcome to.
What I see every single day is I'm not worthy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not good enough.
I don't deserve. There's
I'm
something
not
wrong with me.
Yeah.
That's shame.
Swan, what was that?
I'm not gifted is one that I have many clients, most of my clients I've become mentor to. And one of the things is them really believing that they have amazing gifts that they haven't even begun to probably tap into yet.
That reminds me, I can't is another one. I can't, whatever, and robs us of our power.
Which, if I can just say, because all of that stems back to the first one that was said, and as with my clients, and I think most of us, I do believe that the biggest one that so many of us hear is the worthiness. And I want to address that one specifically, because if anyone out there feels that, I would love for you to say yes, if this has been a running belief in your life now or previously. But I would love to hear your insight on where do you believe that this particular belief stems from? Because it's a big one for so many.
So experts, anyone who wants to answer that, where do you think that I'm not worthy stems from? Well, and if anyone in the audience can understand and that makes sense to you, and and it makes sense to your life, let us know by typing in the chat box. Also, if you have any questions, let us know. So I'm sorry, Debbie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see it so often because in my work around betrayal, when we're betrayed by the people that we've felt safest and closest to, that we can relax and say, okay, these people have my back and love me and will support me, take care of me to whatever level or extent. When they don't, that's when we feel, well, if the people closest to me I can't trust, well, who do I trust? How worthy am I if I'm not even safe with the people who were, I thought, the safest.
So that brings me to what I wanted to put in, which is that we learn it, because when we arrive here on the earth, we're full of a lot of self-love, and I don't deserve, to me, or I'm not worthy, represents a lack of self-love. So we learn to unlove ourselves, which is a tragedy.
Yeah.
I just,
And you go, Pat.
So I think so the task then becomes, how do you learn to love yourself again? You know, Oscar Wilde's famous quote is, "You might as well be yourself because everyone else is already taken."
yeah, that's a good one.
But we spend our whole life until we're in midlife to even kind of get a sense of who we are, our uniqueness, our purpose, our you know, what makes us unique. A 14-year-old is not going to know that yet. But it is the struggle. Well, I don't even like to use the word struggle. We make it a struggle, but it's what we're here to learn.
Sherry, did you want to bring to our attention a couple of the things that are going on in the chat? Did you want to read a couple of the comments out loud?
Sure. That's what I was just going to comment on, is that a lot of these are coming from, you know, from parents. A lot of this commentary is coming from the link with parents and how they made us feel, you know, that whole thing that Debbie had mentioned about, you know, the people that you love and trust the most who suddenly make you not feel that way anymore or have let you down in some way. So it's interesting. Leona says, "I'm not good enough" comes from my parents. Meg C says, "Parents, as babies, we model, i.e. copy them and closely observe them. Therefore, their lack of worth is passed on." April says, "Constant criticism as a child, needs to be perfect." Kim says, "Childhood legacy." So again and again, we're all like, it's our family. Which then, of course, you know, not to blame them, but then they receive that, I'm sure, from their parents as well.
But
go ahead.
I'd like to point out something that Anna picked up on in the blog that I wrote, which she added extra insight to. But apparently, when something hurtful or wounding or even just simply incorrect is said to a child, if it's not acknowledged and apologized for within 20 minutes, it can leave an imprint that sticks in the cellular memory and the soul memory of the child, and then becomes a pattern and a belief that is perpetuated through their life, and they have to live with that. Of course, they may have come in with that necessary lesson from past lives or from their family drama and ancestors, whatever, but nevertheless, this 20-minute window that we have to correct anything that we have said in an emotional outburst, and particularly for children, because everyone's saying it derives from their families. It's so important that, you know, we are all more conscious of what we say to each other and to children, and that children are taught and apologized to so that they understand that this is not their fault.
And
I just want,
I want
sorry,
to put
really?
one
Go ahead,
thing.
Eileen.
Thank you. One thing to put in here, what has helped me and my clients is with this model of the earth as a giant school is, yes, these things come from our parents, but those are our homework assignments. We develop them in the first 7 years of life. And so rather than spend a lot of time thinking about any level of blame, we could be grateful that we've gotten those lessons and just set to work on them and say, I'm going to get free of this belief. I'm not going to keep it anymore. And one more little thing, I went to a therapist once who had a brilliant thing to say. He said, never talk to somebody you love unless you know that they are going to love to hear what you have to say.
I love that. And just to build up what they said, you know, here's the thing. Yes, this can happen in childhood, but it's also very familiar. So then when we're making friends, when we have relationships, we feel very comfortable with the familiar, even if it stinks. And then what happens is, you know, we get the mother of all opportunities to be confronted with this until we learn, wow, we are lovable, worthy, and deserving. Lesson learned.
So then I'm
sorry, I just wanted to address something, because we were talking about like the things that we've heard and how they create the beliefs that we own, we end up owning, which we want to sell on eBay right now, right? That's what we want to do with them today. But Jenny brought up the fact that she was terribly bullied as a child, and her parents said, don't worry, to suck it up. So in fact, a dismissive event, an event caused her to create a belief that, just don't worry about it, you're strong enough, and then, internalize all of what came from the bullying. So it wasn't necessarily like that you can't do this, or what did you do to deserve this, or they are not worthy, but literally telling her, oh, you could deal with it, you're strong enough, when she really wasn't, and nobody addressed the pain and the hurt that she was going through. So I just wanted to mention what she had said in the chat.
Well, that's a massive abandonment, because basically the message is your feelings don't matter. And when we're taught as young children that our feelings don't matter, that's how we live our lives. And in fact, our feelings are the gauge through which we grow and evolve in our life.
Yeah, let me add to that, because I'm seeing a meme, and even in the executive coaching I do and in the workplace, that emotions are starting to be part of the conversation again. You can actually talk about having feelings and not have it be a bad thing. And if you saw the movie Inside Out, about the cartoon, about all the emotions and everything, that was really good for adults as well as for kids, because there's no bad emotions. There's just some that feels bad. And if you learn that emotion is emotion, energy in motion, if you name it and claim it and express it, it'll shift. And sadness can become happiness, and grief can become resilience. But you can't deny it. And you don't have to do personal archaeology for years either.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. That's my big message, is that emotions are messengers and a gift, and they're easy to work with. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You know what I find really interesting is when, as someone who I don't want to say the word confronted, but talked to my parents about the things that they said to me and the ways that it affected me. What's so interesting is that they don't remember a lot of that. That's one thing that they said that, I held on to, that they were unaware of. And so what I want to know, because I always want to find solutions and stuff, if our parents are unaware of what it is that they do or don't do, and as children, we don't have the tools to be able to recognize this, what can we do? What do we have to wait until we're an adult to feel all this pain and then figure it out? Or do we, as parents, if you're a parent, recognize that, and have these talks with your children? I'm just curious if anybody has any thoughts on this.
Well, I have 4 kids, so I can jump in with this one if you'd like.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? With a lot of the things that were said to me, I sort of look at it like I'm a dyslexic, where I know how to just regurgitate what I learned, but if I just spew that out, well, I'm going to give the same thing to my kids. So instead, I look at it like the message is coming in almost pretty jumbled up. Let me unjumble it and get it out a little bit differently.
Great.
And, as a person who has developed and taught conscious parenting for many years, if you look at parenting on a more spiritual level, you see that we are the adults who are teaching children how to be here on the earth, but children have a wonderful job. Their job is to push our buttons. And when they push our buttons, they're showing us where we're incomplete. So as a parent, if you keep going back to yourself when you're having a difficulty with your child, or your child is in pain, and say, what do I need to learn here? And then share that with your child, you're home free. And I would also add that, as painful as it is to think about all the things, I was molested by my parent when I was a child, and that was very painful. And I did have a chance to talk to my father about all of that, and he didn't remember. But that was also part of my learning and helped me to become a more sensitive therapist. So I think from each of these things, we can't expect parents to be perfect. We are best if we can just teach our children and ourselves how to keep learning, because then we can move out of it.
Thank you for
sharing that. Children will reflect to us whatever was going on with us at the age that they currently are.
Yes.
So if you have a 2-year-old or a 20-year-old, and there is some dynamic that's challenging going on, it really helps to bring oneself back to, okay, well, what was going on with me when I was 20? Because inevitably they are mirroring that pattern. And the second thing is to always ask the children what they're really feeling, to teach them the 5 main feeling words, which are hurt, scared, happy, angry, or sad, because that brings them out of story and enables them in a very simple way to say, I'm feeling really angry right now, or I'm feeling really sad right now.
Thank you, Swan. And I want this to be really beneficial for those who are joining us. We have about 10 minutes left, and there's 2 questions that I want to get to. I would really love to hear for who's ready to answer this. What are some self-evaluation questions that the people here in the audience, what can they ask themselves to evaluate if they're really stuck in a pattern, or they have a belief that's toxic, or rather it's just, they're making a bad decision, but that really it is a belief set or a pattern that they're doing. So whoever wants to answer that first, please answer, because I would love to hear that.
I'll answer that. I would say, we're so committed to our beliefs, but if we just question them, and sometimes we can question it with something as simple as, what if that's not true? And all that does is plant a seed of possibility, because if we say throughout our day on some subconscious program, I'm so, let's say I'm so unlovable, and we're just repeating that over and over and over again, just by questioning, what if that's not true? What if, what if, what if? And when you say it often enough, and when you question it often enough, what you're doing is you're creating a new neural connection, a new brain connection. You're losing the power that the old connection had, and giving a new connection a possibility. And when you question enough, what if, what if, what if, eventually you start saying, hey, you know what if? And then you build with that. And I call that a bridge, where we have that old belief that's so firmly implanted, and then we create this bridge of possibility. And then with that bridge in place, then we can insert a new, more empowering belief.
Right. And
Fantastic.
There's the whole issue of what I've learned to call facing fact, to look squarely at what is going on, which, Debbie, I think that is brought up by the question that you're talking about. But you can also say, what is it that I actually know about this? What is actually true? What can I demonstrate is true? And you'll find an awful lot of things that are no longer holding the image that you have from the belief you hold.
Yeah, and this is Pat. I think something to add to that is I've found over my decades of being a therapist and then a coach is that if you get people to think of, what is it I don't want people to know about me, and they write about it and then share it, at least with a committed listener like a coach or therapist, they find out that that's not an unusual belief. It's like there's only like half a dozen things that bother people. really, you're not alone. You don't have this unique virus that nobody else has, and so you find that you can normalize it and then transform it.
What I would say is that beliefs so often come with this feeling, this belief that what I'm believing is right. And so often it helps to just drop it and say, well, do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy? And what's stopping me? What's in the way of me being happy right now?
That's a good one. What's in the way of me being happy right now? Sorry, Sherry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I actually took that approach many years ago. That was like, this belief that I'm holding on to is literally, like, whether it's true or not, the belief that it's true is damaging me so greatly and inhibiting everything that I do in my life. And so I just chose one day, I was like, I don't want to believe this anymore because it's hurting me. So
I actually think that our primary work in life is to get out of the way what's between us, where we are right now, and where we want to be, like being happy. So I think that's brilliant.
I love that, Ilene. And everyone in the audience, I want to thank you for all your comments. And I'm sorry that we can't get to every single one of them. Sherry, if there's something that really stuck out to you, please read it off. But as we're coming down on time right now, we have about 5 minutes left. we want you to walk away with an actual tool or technique, something that you can implement in your life that would make your life better, to help you get over these beliefs, get through them, and help get your life back. So without further ado, Dr. Pat, did you want to share with us a tool, tip, or trick to help people to remove these beliefs from their life and to stop the patterns?
Yeah, I can do that. And I'll summarize something that's in my writings, but I'll give you the quick version. So it's a technique to help you reclaim the parts of your authentic self that you've kept hidden in your shadow, your shame box, whatever you want to call it. And it's called the 6-step R, 6 R's. One is recall. So just by yourself, recall a belief or an experience that you had that you keep hidden. The second R is reflect. Just consider the memory. What happened? Who was there? What are the details? You can go into this in as much detail as you want. And then the third one is reveal on paper. So journal about it, write about it, freelance about it. Just get it out. What do you remember? It's just for you. And then comes the big step. Who's the other that you can reveal that to? Reveal that to another, to a committed listener, to a trusted person, maybe a professional, maybe somebody you really trust, and tread slowly, but a little revelation. And then after you've done that, you share your story and you kind of got it, what I call emotionally naked, or naked with your clothes on, is you then reboot and restart just like you would a computer. Just clean your system, unplug, reboot, and get on with your new life.
Great, Pat. And Debbie, what's your tip?
Well, it's not nearly as profound, but it's really
things.
It's a pattern interrupt. And what I mean by that is when you find yourself going down that slippery slope of a belief that you've been down 100 million times, and thinking about it one more time will bring you no closer than the last million times you've gone over it. You actually say to yourself in your head, out loud, whatever, stop. Become aware of it, because you can't change what you're not aware of. So the first step is become aware of it, and then reconditioning. And reconditioning is where you're forcing yourself really to think of something more pleasing when that negative thought comes up. So it's that become aware, that pattern interrupt, and force yourself to think of something more positive. You're not ignoring or distracting. You're just taking yourself out of that negative loop spiral that just takes you down.
Great. Thank you. And Swan, what is your tip?
Well, mine is breathe and feel. And there's a way, which I don't have time to go into right now, of by feeling where the contraction or the problem is held in your body and which chakra that relates to, of discerning what age the problem was set in motion. And as soon as you discern when that problem arose and what it came from, you can start to heal and transform it. And if anyone wants to contact me, I'm happy to send them the list of the age of the chakras and what they relate to.
Okay, thank you, Swan. And by the way, we're going to have you connected to all of our experts via email. We're going to send you their wonderful gifts. And Sherry, if you wanted to add something to that, other than that, if not, we can move on to Eileen.
No, I was going to have Eileen answer that.
All right. Well, mine's a slightly different version of what you talked about, Debbie. In our culture, we have a tendency to pay attention to the problem. How big is the problem? When did it start? How does it affect me? And it's good to know that, but we go where we place our attention. And so if we're placing our attention on what we want to overcome, we give it energy and it grows. But if instead we pay attention to what we want to become and feed it energy, what we want to overcome atrophies and drops away. So it's a lot easier than we normally think of. And the principle is pay attention not to what you want to overcome, but to what you want to become. And my clients and I have lived by that principle for many years, and it's absolute magic. And I think all of us have been talking about it in one form or another today, which I appreciate.
I love that, Eileen. And I think that's what I ended up doing in order to get over my situation of confidence and how I was bullied. I think it's focus on what you want to become, and I became that. So thank you.
I second that. In the heart of my deepest, darkest, like, why is this happening to me? The dark cloud. My best friend said to me, Sherry, what kind of woman do you see yourself as? What kind of life do you want to live? And then become that. And I started doing that. So I think it's great. Great advice.
Love it. Sherry, do you want to wrap it up?
Sure. So just if you guys, do we have time for a final thought from everybody, or are we out of time?
We're at 45 minutes, but if everyone has a quick final thought, we'd love to hear it. If you all don't mind and want to go over time, audience members, thank you.
Just something that each expert that you want to just make sure that everybody knows when they leave here today. Ilene?
Well, we came here to learn and grow and evolve. And that's where being in a giant school, the idea of being in a giant school works for me. So my advice, my request is embrace your learning, get on with it. And that involves looking at your beliefs, all of them, and deciding on what you'd like to believe instead if you don't like what you've got.
I would jump in and say any thought, any belief that doesn't serve you can be changed. Become aware of it so you can do something about it.
Swan?
I would say the time is now to move beyond these limiting beliefs, these toxic patterns. It's a vital time on the planet. There are great shifts coming and massive challenges. And every one of you, every one of us is needed to be here to shine our light and our wisdom and our love and compassion. And the toxic patterns and beliefs have the potential to sabotage that, but moving beyond them will liberate you to live in love and compassion and truth, and help others and serve your family, your loved ones, and the world around you. And this needs to happen now because time is of the essence. We are at midnight, way past the 11th hour.
Thank you, Swan. Patrick,
Thanks, Swan.
Pat?
Yeah, I would just say, we're all relationship beings, even though that's sometimes tough. But those are our teachers. And Sue Monk Kidd says in The Invention of Wings, there is no pain on earth that doesn't deserve or crave a benevolent witness. So get out and have conversation with a committed listener and share the stuff you might be a little bit afraid of, and let go of that fear. Put it in a safe place.
Fantastic. And I would just like to say, I'm no expert here, but I just want to, being called to let you know that each and every one of you are absolutely worthy of living a life that feels good and living a life where you do get to shine your brightest and be your best. So we hope that you take all of the beautiful advice and tips that you've heard today, and that you go out there and you live your best life that's filled with all of the beauty and magnificence and joy that you inherently are.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and thank you, our panel of experts. And just so everyone knows, you're going to be emailed those free gifts from our experts. And I want to express extreme gratitude. Everyone is saying how wonderful you all are. Everyone is so thankful and so grateful for the conversation and wisdom you brought to them today. We're getting so many compliments in the chat. So thank you, Wellness Universe experts, and thank you all who joined us live. And stay tuned for our next panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.